The chandeliers of the Grand Lagos ballroom glowed like clusters of golden stars. Soft jazz music filled the air as rows of tables decorated with white roses shimmered under the lights. Guests from across Africa, dressed in sleek gowns, tuxedos, and designer suits, whispered with excitement. Tonight was the wedding of the year. At the center of it all stood Michael Ademi, a tall and confident Black African man in his early 30s. His jet-black skin glistened under the spotlight, and his perfectly tailored tuxedo, paired with a silk body, reflected his wealth and power. Michael wasn't just a groom tonight. He was a billionaire businessman, heir to a family empire, and a man who believed he had it all. Beside him walked Vanessa, his bride. A stunning Black African woman, she wore a mermaid-style white gown embroidered with pearls, her natural curls wrapped into an elegant bun crowned with diamonds. Vanessa smiled gracefully at the applauding crowd, but deep inside, her eyes flickered with a quiet uncertainty. The master of ceremonies announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, let us celebrate the union of Michael Ademi and Vanessa Omari." Cheers erupted, cameras flashed, and the couple waved. But as Michael looked around the ballroom with pride, his sharp eyes suddenly froze. Across the room, near the back entrance, stood a woman in an emerald green evening gown. Her smooth, dark skin glowed under the golden lights, her tall frame commanding attention without trying. She was a Black African woman named Amara. Michael's confident smile faltered. He remembered her instantly. Years ago, when he was still rising in wealth and status, Amara had been someone he mocked and dismissed. She was from a modest background, working hard to survive. He once laughed at her dreams, ridiculing her in front of others, saying she would never belong in circles like his. And now, here she was, walking gracefully into his wedding. Vanessa noticed his sudden stiffness. "Akal, is everything okay?" she whispered, adjusting her gown. Akal forced a smile. "Of course, it's just overwhelmed by the moment." But inside, unease gnawed at him. The reception continued. Guests, elegant Black African men in slim-cut suits, and Black African women in glittering gowns dined, laughed, and danced. A jazz band played as waiters carried champagne glasses through the crowd. But Michael's attention remained fixed on Amara. Every time he glanced, she was there, calm, poised, and unbothered by the spectacle. Finally, as the speeches began, the master of ceremonies invited, "We welcome anyone with words for the newlyweds to the stage." A few guests came forward with warm blessings. Vanessa's best friend, a Black African woman in a rose gold gown, gave a heartfelt toast. Michael's business partner, a sharp-suited Black African man, praised his success. Then, slowly, Amara rose from her seat. The crowd murmured. Her emerald gown shimmered with each step as she walked toward the microphone. Vanessa looked confused. Michael's throat went dry. She spoke calmly, her voice rich and steady. "Good evening. My name is Amara. Some of you may not know me, but Michael does." Gasps rippled across the hall. Michael's smile stiffened. Amara continued, her eyes fixed on him. "Years ago, when I was working tirelessly to build myself up, Michael mocked me. He told me I was unworthy, that I would never stand among the wealthy, never belong in a hall like this. He humiliated me for my poverty." The room fell into silence. Vanessa's eyes widened in shock. Amara paused, letting the truth sink in. Then she smiled faintly. "But tonight I am not here for revenge. I am here to reveal a truth that may surprise him, and perhaps break the image he holds of himself." Michael's fists tightened at his sides. Sweat formed on his brow despite the cool air. The crowd leaned in, anticipation thick in the air. Even the band had gone quiet. Vanessa whispered, "Michael, is this true?" But Michael couldn't answer. His entire world seemed to be closing in. The suspense electrified the ballroom. Guests exchanged whispers. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others pulled out phones, eager to capture the moment. Amara stood tall, her posture regal, her emerald gown flowing like a queen's robe. Every detail about her radiated strength, the kind Michael once denied she could ever possess. Her next words cut through the silence. "Michael, do you remember what you said to me the last time we met?" Michael's voice cracked. "Amara, this isn't the time," but Amara raised her hand. "You told me I would never rise above the dust, that no matter what I dreamed, I would remain nothing. Do you still believe that?" The room gasped again. Vanessa turned to her groom, her eyes searching for an explanation. Michael's silence was answer enough. Amara's smile deepened, though her eyes shone with emotion. "I stand here today not to shame you, but to show you what truth really is. Because while you may have mocked me, life had other plans. And tonight, in front of everyone, I will share it." Her voice echoed, powerful and unshakable. The ballroom was frozen in suspense. Michael's heart pounded. Vanessa clutched her gown, and the guests leaned forward, desperate to hear what revelation was about to unfold. The camera of the wedding videographer zoomed in on Amara's face, as she prepared to speak the truth that would shake the billionaire groom to his core. And with that, the first part of this story came to a close, leaving the entire hall, and everyone watching, hanging in anticipation. The ballroom was silent, the kind of silence that weighed heavily in the air. All eyes were fixed on Amara, the elegant black African woman in the emerald gown. She stood tall at the microphone, her smooth skin glowing beneath the chandeliers. Her posture regal. She looked directly at Michael Ademi, the billionaire groom whose proud shoulders now sagged under invisible weight. Amara's voice rang clear. "Michael, you once told me I would never amount to anything, that my dreams were worthless because I came from nothing. Tonight, I am here to prove you wrong, not with anger, but with truth." Gasps echoed through the hall. Guests leaned forward, their designer suits and glittering gowns rustling in anticipation. Vanessa, the bride in her pearl-embroidered mermaid gown, held tightly to her bouquet, her wide eyes darting between her groom and the mysterious woman before them. Michael forced a nervous smile, trying to regain control. "Amara, please, this isn't the place," but Amara raised a hand, silencing him. "This is exactly the place, because you mocked me in public, and tonight, before your world, I will reveal what you never expected." She reached into her purse and pulled out a sleek black folder. The hall collectively inhaled. The cameraman zoomed in as Amara opened it slowly, like unveiling a crown jewel. "I worked hard, Michael," she continued. "While you laughed at me, I was building something greater than pride. I pursued education, built businesses, and invested in people you once ignored. And today, I am not just standing here as a guest. I am the owner of the very company that saved your empire from collapse last year." The crowd erupted in shock. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Some guests gasped aloud. Others covered their mouths. Michael's face turned pale, sweat dripping down his temple. He remembered vividly the near collapse of his company, the anonymous investor who had poured in millions at the last moment, keeping his empire alive. He had never discovered who it was until now. "'Twas me," Amara declared, her emerald gown shimmering like a flame. "The woman you mocked, the woman you dismissed, is the reason you are still standing as a billionaire today." Vanessa staggered back, gripping the edge of the table for support. The guests erupted into whispers, their disbelief filling the air. Michael, stunned beyond words, struggled to breathe. The master of ceremonies, a polished black African man in a tailored navy suit, tried to calm the crowd, but Amara wasn't finished. Her eyes glistened with emotion. "I did not invest to save you, Michael. I invested because I believed in the workers, in the people you overlooked. And tonight, I came not to shame you, but to remind you and everyone here that wealth does not give anyone the right to look down on another soul." The hall fell into stunned silence again. Even the waiters in crisp black uniforms froze where they stood, their trays trembling slightly. Michael finally spoke, his voice breaking. "Amara." He stopped, unable to continue. His once proud posture crumbled. His arrogance seemed to dissolve under the weight of truth. Amara looked at Vanessa. "And to you, Vanessa, I wish you happiness. But remember, Marriage is not built on wealth or appearances. 'Tis built on respect, humility, and love. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. She turned to Michael, searching for the man she thought she knew, but all she saw was a broken figure drowning in regret. The crowd, dressed in their finest gowns and tuxedos, began murmuring again, this time with admiration for Amara. Some clapped softly. Others nodded, their faces glowing with respect. Amara had transformed the entire room with her truth. Michael dropped his gaze, ashamed. For the first time in his life, his fortune, his fame, his empire, none of it mattered. In front of everyone, he was stripped bare. Amara closed the folder and stepped away from the microphone. She walked gracefully down the aisle, her gown trailing behind her like a wave of emerald fire. Guests instinctively made way, bowing their heads slightly, as though a queen were passing by. Michael reached out weakly, his voice trembling. Amara! Wait. But she did not stop. She simply turned, her eyes meeting his one last time. The truth has already spoken, Michael. What you do with it is up to you. And with that, she walked out of the grand ballroom, leaving behind stunned silence. For a long moment, no one moved. The chandeliers flickered, the air thick with tension. Then, slowly, applause began, soft at first, then rising into a powerful wave. Guests clapped for Amara's courage, her strength, her grace. Michael sank into his chair, burying his face in his hands. His pride was shattered. His bride Vanessa stood frozen beside him, her bouquet slipping from her trembling hands. She looked at him with a mixture of sorrow and disappointment. The music resumed faintly, but the atmosphere had changed forever. The night that was supposed to celebrate Michael Adami's power had instead become a lesson in humility. A reminder that no one should ever mock or belittle another. As the night drew to a close, whispers of Amara's revelation filled every corner of the ballroom. Guests in designer gowns and sharp tuxedos left with one story on their lips: how the woman once mocked had risen higher than anyone imagined. And Michael. He remained seated, broken, replaying Amara's words in his mind. For the first time, he realized the cost of arrogance and the priceless value of respect. Moral of the story: never look down on anyone because of their background, poverty, or struggles. Life has a way of turning tables, and true worth is not measured by wealth or status, but by respect, humility, and character.